Howdy, I'm Freedom Hillbilly, and today, well, you know why you're here, and I know why you're here, so let's get into this! We're going to start with what you'll all need in terms of specialty tools. Oh, cable clamp retention tool. I don't know what you call this. You squeeze the handle, it pinches those two ears, and it holds it in place open so you can get it off. Invaluable tool. And you got a hose clamp pliers so you can crack that hose and then remove it. And then I'm only pointing out the screwdrivers because you'll need the small one for an electrical connector, and you got to be very gentle. And then the big one, of course, is to pry off the plastic race, where you just want a big, wide, flat prying. You could use a pry bar too. The last item on the list, which we really shouldn't even mention, is super silicon spray, 200% more than the competition. You need this. Always. Plastic bits get coated in it, and then it makes it lubricated and it slides easier. And the stuff evaporates off pretty quick. Always have a can or two of super silicon spray. And this is the prize that we are after. It's a vacuum actuated heater core bypass valve. It's actually just a bypass valve that actuates on a vacuum. There's a plunger in here that seats down and closes off the bottom port. And when it's actuated with the vacuum, this port is blocked, the top port is blocked off, and flow comes in on the right side and is diverted to one path or the other. Let me show you this with two hands, why I'm showing it to you. This has a metal tab, and there's a slot that tab slides into, like so. And why I'm telling you this is so when you're reaching around down in there, you can kind of get behind it and push that metal tab off. That way you don't have to take the electrical connector that's onto this end off. And, you know, because we're after this piece, not this piece. If you think you have a bad solenoid, because this isn't actuating when you turn on the AC, then, you know, you might have to replace that piece. So let's get into this. To help prevent yourself from getting burned, put something down here. So as we can see, we have this nice open cavity right here, and we're not going to be working there. Nope, we're going further back in this area where it's very cramped. You have lots of brittle, old, decaying vacuum wire hoses. I don't, because I replaced them all, but you probably do, and they'll probably crumble in your hands. So be mindful of that. Also, this hard line that goes into the manifold here, you probably want to take it out, and you push that red collar forward while at the same time pulling that out. And that's because you got to get to two screws, one there and one there, to take this electrical connector thingy off. And we'll get to that in a moment. But what we're after is down here where these two hoses go into, and there's a third hose that comes out. There's a vacuum line that goes on top. That's the part we're after. So let's go ahead and start filming this. So the first thing you want to do is remove this electrical panel cover thing. I think it slides right up, and you set that aside. Now, in order to get that connector off, it's very old and brittle, so we're going to take this connector off, and that means pulling the red piece back. In order to do that safely and without breaking or cracking it, we're going to want to use some silicon spray by Cyclo! That's right, so we just get that nice and juiced up. This stuff evaporates pretty quickly, so you don't have to worry about it and it's non-conductive, so You don't have to worry. Just take a light tap. Ooh, I think I busted it anyway. Yeah, I busted it anyway. Oh, fudge. Fudge-sicle. Whoops. That little zip tie just brittled away. Yeah, that's definitely... Maybe it was broken already because that zip tie certainly came off. We might need some extra. Come on. Let's get behind there. And we got it off. And we're going to want to clean that up because there's a lot of crud and dirt on that. So let's just look at all that crud and dirt. Oh, we didn't get any on the back side. If you notice, there's none here. There's none here on the back side. So let's go ahead and give it some extra. Oh, and look at all that dirt in there. We're going to have to get some... Oh my goodness, that's a lot of dirt. Look at all that dirt. Dirt needs to be taken away. We're going to go ahead and take the two 10mm screws. Now watch this hard line. You kind of want to get it out of the way. Oh, that came out easy. So now, let's get that guy out of the way. If you lift up the little weather stripping gasket here, this piece is kind of held on the lip. So let's pull it out. Oh, there's another thing. There's two more bolts holding this whole plastic race in place. So we're going to pull that out. So there's two studs holding this plastic race in place on the firewall there. And you get one's right here and the other one's right there. So we're going to take this out. Now we push it up, get it off, and we can now move this out of the way. And hopefully you can see what we're after a lot more clearly. It's down here. It's this guy right here. You might want to get a bungee to hold this guy back out of the way while you fish around. Again, you want to use your silicone spray. Ooh. Juice up the top vacuum, juice up the hoses that you're going to be removing so they slide off easy. So we're after this guy here. We're going to get our hose clamp thing on the hoses and pull them off now. You could go ahead and put a pan under because you're going to lose some coolant. And let's get the top one first. Gonna use our special clamp. Well, the first thing we should do is probably get rid of this zip tie that's holding the thing in place. And it's so heat soaked and brittle that it just broke off. We didn't need our special thing. Oh, the silicone is already drying off, so let's give it some more. There, we get under there. And this is why you want to let the car cool down before you do this. Come on, slide back. There we go. Come on, man. Come on. There we go. We did it. We did it. You know, this is the car I'm going to have to drive home tonight, and it's looking like it's going to rain soon. So not good. So let's get going here. See if we can't slip this off. Oh, there goes the coolant. There, it's spurting out. This cable clamp just does not want to give it up. Now there, finally got loose. OMG! OMG! Now, we got that vacuum line off, but what we still have behind it is the solenoid that's kind of mounted underneath. There, you just... Now, let's start pulling apart the actual hoses. I want to crack that connection with this hose plier thingy. Oh, I'm falling backwards. Oh boy, it's really stuck in there. You don't want to break the hose either. It is just so stuck on there. I don't want to pinch the hose and break it. There it goes. There it goes. There's one anyway. And here's the, see this piece? It has this tab here that slides into the plastic on the back of this guy. I don't know if you could see it. I'll show it to you on the bench if I haven't already. Alright. Before you take it all the way off, mark this hose as top. Put a T on it for top. Or just put a dot. And it's marked. We'll mark the thing there. Mark that one. Okay, now we can remove that guy. And the other one just comes right off like that. What a mess. So I can hear many of you asking right now, isn't there a way we can test that part? Because it's pretty expensive. And we really want to know if it's really failed or not. And the answer to that is yes. Yes, there is. And here it is. It's an entire water harvesting system coming to you on another video. But anyway, just get a section of pipe, okay, a hose connected to the input port, which is that third leg, and then have the Autocraft Mighty Suck 2000, where you can adjust the vacuum up or down. Usually 15 psi is, or it's not psi, it's inches of hydrogen. Not hydrogen, Hg. Yeah, inches of hydrogen? Or is that mercury? I don't know. I am blanking. All right, so we have the setup here with the Super Suck 10,000 with a hose to your garden hose. Let me turn it on. The turn on switch is right here. And we see it's coming out, well, what was the top port, because the bottom port is plugged off with no vacuum. Now when we pump up the volume, I'm going to pump it up to 2.5. At about 2.5, it's both. And we are having a little leakage. We are having a little leakage there, so that's interesting. Let's pump it up all the way. When it's fully open at 15, when we got 15 inches of mercury or hydrogen, whatever Hg stands for, it's coming out the bottom port. It's still leaking a little out the top. And that's where the problem may have been, because, yeah, there it is. You can see it leaking. You can see it leaking. I caught you in the act. I caught you in the act, didn't I? Because it was like this and it was leaking down the top. So, maybe I do have to, I'll still check the hoses. Oh my God. There we go. I'm getting soaked here. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Well, that was a hack. So we did actually witness a leak around the diaphragm, coming out around where the diaphragm is, and I'll carefully inspect those hoses though around where they get clamped, because sometimes they split where it gets clamped. Sounds like someone's leaking. Oh, it's leaking. And for those of you wondering, that's my tire leak inspection device. It's a tub of water. Alrighty then. Well, it's starting to rain and my battery's at 3%. And I, you know, ever since I was a kid, I was told if I stayed out in the rain too long, I'd melt. That's how sweet I am. Anyway, we went ahead and tucked it right back in there. Put a little zip tie to secure it in place right there. Vacuum line on. Everything's back together. Yeah, I mean, if you took it off, you know exactly how it goes. Just make sure you mark that top one. I'm gonna use some of this. Well, my GoPro battery died. I was just mid-sentence too. And you want to use some of this electronic contact cleaner. And we blew this out with compressed air. Let's go ahead and clean that off with some of that QD cleaner. Gonna just squirt some up in there. And then we'll let that evaporate off. Battery's dying on this too. Take the bungee off of this. Position this wire thing back in place. And then we make sure it goes on the little studs. Push the plastic race back on the studs. And then we got two 10mm bolts. I don't know where they went. Oh, it's on the floor. Oh, lucky me, I dropped it on the ground. Let's start them by hand. Start them by hand. Yeah, I need a little extension. There we go. Whoops. That was a 10mm. We nearly lost it. Don't forget to put this guy a little pipe back up to the mark. And then we finally just have to... Oh, hang on, we're back. And you know what we have? You got it! Super silicone spray. We're going to soak the plastic part that slides and try to do it gently. So it fully engages. Whoa, you see how nicely that went in? That's why you use that stuff. Then we slide our little Protecto cover back. There we go. That's done. That's done. Let's go start it up and see if it's leaking. Doesn't appear to be leaking. We're going to flick on the AC and that should actually actuate that diaphragm valve, vacuum, whatever. It's on low. I don't see a leak. I don't actually see a leaking, so that's great. We're going to top off the coolant. Hopefully this was helpful. It takes so long to produce these things because you're fumbling with cameras and yada. Join me next time for our next adventure. It'll be great, guaranteed. Hillbilly out.